Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Paulette Lynch. I'm Executive Director of the Arts Council for Monterey County, and I'm your host for this portion of Your Town. I'm going to be talking first of all today with Paola Berthoin, and then with Elliot Ruckelhaus Roberts, and also Ellen Martin, First Night Monterey. And we are all going to be talking about the arts and our passion for place, our passion for this place, our beautiful Monterey County. So let me just start today with Paola Berthoin. Paola, thank you so much for being here.
Well, I really very much appreciate the opportunity. It's wonderful.
I've known you for so long, it feels like now, since our early days of First Night Monterey,
Yes.
and maybe even before that. And I've always admired your work and your creativity in helping people to really love our planet and love so much about our region. But when you came forward with your extraordinary project, Passion for Place, it just really still knocked me out. It was just so amazing. So we're going to start today talking a little bit about this, and we'll talk a lot about Paola's background, and then also what's next. And but one of the reasons I'm so excited about this project is that it really covers so much ground over a place that we might feel like we know, and even people around the world may feel like they know. Right. But you bring it together with poetry and photographs and paintings. My understanding is that you had 44 people involved in all of this.
Right.
Can you tell us about what drove you to do such a big project, and what do you think compelled others to join you?
Well, I think certainly a lot of people have a love for Carmel Valley and the watershed and the river. And what drove me to do it is, well, I've had a long love affair with the river, if you want, and that place. I've lived in Carmel Valley since 1965. But what really drove me to do it in 2009, it had been an idea that was sort of latent. It had gotten its start about 5 years before. With Rising Leaf Watershed Arts, an organization I started with other people who are just as committed to the watershed. And then in 2009, I just felt like something else has to happen to help share about how beautiful this place is and how threatened the Carmel River is.
Sure, yeah.
And I was standing there in the river doing a painting that's in the book, and I was seeing it drying up, and the ducks were, you know, thinking, well, this is a great place to be, but we don't really have that much water to play around in and to swim in and to get our food from.
So you could feel the changes already at that time?
Yeah. And it's something that has been deep within me to, you know, bring this message, and how can we, you know, really bring this whole community awareness around the river in a way that hasn't really been done before. There's a lot of politics.
Sure.
About the river and about the fish. You know, why is it always about the fish? But there's a good reason why it's about the fish. They're kind of like, you know, the saying, the canary in the coal mine. There used to be thousands upon thousands of fish that were in this river, that are native to this river. And now you might get 100 in a good year coming up the river. 100 adults, if you're lucky. So they really are that connection to help you understand what's going on with the river and what's going on actually with the whole watershed. And I'm drawn by both color and light and movement and all of those things that make the land so beautiful. And then by going out there and painting, then you're there for 2 hours or maybe longer, and you're watching what's going on. And so then you get more and more connected to what you're doing and what you're seeing.
I think all the time now about how artists really help us to see.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. So I'm not going to stand in the river for 2 hours in any case, but I can connect, at least in part, through your work to those dimensions, the color, the light, the movement, and understand more the context. And so I just really appreciate the way artists help us to see, improve our own visual acuity even as they share theirs. And so Can you tell us more about the other people who are engaged in this project, what they bring to it, what drove them to participate?
Well, there's so many different people coming from so many different backgrounds who participated in this project. And so you have naturalists, you have biologists, you have people who are poets, people who have lived in the valley for a long time and they want to share their piece of, let's say, growing vegetables and what that has brought to them in the way of understanding all the connections that means, such in terms of bees and honey and all that kind of thing. And then, one person wrote about the life cycle of the steelhead as if she were the steelhead. And this was before the San Clemente Dam was taken down. So she envisioned what it was like to try and, get past that dam, which actually was pretty difficult.
This is another thing that we find even with the kids that are incarcerated right now, that as they do their artwork, where they are really focusing on the details of an endangered animal particularly, or something else, and they really get involved in the watershed ideas, and they really understand what's happening. But what I am the most stunned by, and I think, again, even viewers can get this, is that they develop empathy. Yeah. They, like that kind of deep level understanding that you're talking about. Right. Maybe it comes from that immersion time. When I see them painstakingly work to get it just right or get it the way they really want it, something happens. Something special happens in that process. So similarly to what you're describing, the poet being able to really have so much empathy for the life force that's going through the watershed, to be able to say as if they were themselves that fish, that in the struggle doing what has to happen. So can you share some other examples of some of the things maybe that you particularly liked, or maybe even you were surprised by, that people contributed to this effort?
Well, there were some people who weren't really up for writing, but when I spoke with them, and they're on the CD in the back, and through speaking with them, their own poetry came out about their connecting to the land.
So they were surprised themselves.
Yeah.
You weren't even surprised.
Right. Well, it's just, it really was wonderful that they wanted to be interviewed or to talk about what's important to them, because I knew that they have something to offer. So, it was really important that I wanted to have their voices be part of it as well, and to actually hear them say their words is really important.
So when you're listed here as the editor, but I know you also designed this whole entire book, and then I'm sure you designed the CD and the website and everything else. But how did it feel to you that facilitating, so you were also in that process of facilitating people's own understanding of not just what they think, but also what they were capable of sharing with the world through their poetry, through their artwork, through their photography, through different medium? Well,
we had a list of questions which I gave to everybody who participated.
Oh, wow.
And they are actually in the back of the book, which people can use in their own way to connect to where they live, whether it's in this watershed or the Monterey or the Salinas or wherever they live.
Wow, I saw somewhere that you had that intention that other people could use it, but I didn't realize, I didn't catch that there was actually a series of prompts. That's brilliant. That's wonderful, because teachers could use that. Exactly. People in different organizations who really want to develop the empathy, develop the awareness, develop the understanding, could actually use those prompts.
Well, exactly. And so Passion for Place is about this specific watershed, the Carmel River watershed, and it's about the people who care about it.
Well, there are all these gazillion pages. How many pages are there?
Well, I can't remember now how many pages there are.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of pages. It kept on growing, but it's something where I found that hearing them talk about what's important to them, really, those questions really helped. And these questions can be used by people in any watershed around the world, really, so they can connect to what is important to them.
That's amazing.
As you were talking earlier about working with youth in the prisons and in jails, and how they have connected to this animal,
Yes.
this endangered species. For me, what's so important as a message is about when we can connect to that wild, beautiful place in us,
Yes.
we can then allow that wild, beautiful place outside to exist.
To flourish.
To
right?
flourish,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's when, when you see something being destroyed outside, when you've allowed that important part of you to continue to flourish, you can have a voice for that what's outside.
That's beautiful.
So that's what drives me.
Yeah.
Along with, the animals are, in one sense, the most vulnerable of all of our animal species, of which we are one. And they don't have a voice like we have.
Yeah.
So that's what also draws me to do this kind of work. It connects to so many different things.
You have here, when we live together with a watershed consciousness, we come to understand more clearly how our actions affect the greater whole.
Right.
And that's so awesome to me, that whole notion. And then I'm seeing here that rivers are the connecting force in all our lives.
Right.
And we found that over the years too, that when we bring people to the ocean, and they love that, it's all really great, but everyone is near a watershed somehow.
Right. Exactly.
And so it can become even more salient to see how that connects and then connects, and it just keeps going like that. So it seems to me that one of the greatest things about your work is that interconnection of the science and the scientists. You were talking earlier about the naturalists and some others, biologists and maybe even engineers. What we find over the years that that although lots of people would like to separate, maybe it sounds easier at first. The arts and the science of our lives really. That as you merge them together, there's so much greater understanding of our world and our place in that. Can you talk a little bit about when you would talk with the scientists and that you were connected with through this project, how you also maybe stimulated them to really think about their creative side as well?
Right. Well, and that's the thing is I find, over many years of doing this work that that there is this disconnect between the arts and the sciences, and I have found that through bringing those two together, that people such as this one person who imagined herself as a steelhead, who is very much actually, she got a degree, Pam Crone Davis got a degree at CSUMB, much later in life, but she's been an engineer as far as I remember. And so she's very much science oriented, but she really connected to the fish. And I think in part, again, because she's had a lot of opportunities to do inquiry, self-inquiry, and an inquiry about the whole watershed. But she really was able to bring those two together with her story about being that fish.
That's wonderful.
Being the steelhead.
Is there anything in particular in the Passion for Place that you would share with us right now?
Boy, what would it be? We'll just open it up and see what happens here. Maybe this image here.
Here we go. So what are we seeing right there?
This here is Finch Creek, which is up in the upper watershed, actually along Carmel Valley Road. And you might be zipping by and you won't even know that it's there. But it's this beautiful little spot right off the edge of the road, and I was basically standing right there doing this painting, and I went up there twice, I believe, to do this painting.
Exquisite,
And it's connecting with all this beautiful light and the water trickling by. And, again, the fast movement of cars going by, and then there you are in this peaceful little location.
How far off? So is it right off the road?
It's right off the road.
So
the road is right here.
So did you have to be careful? You didn't
I was down, it's
just
like 3 feet down from the road.
One of the things that I find mesmerizing is the risks that, and nobody ever talks about this, but the risks that artists take to get that moment and to do those things. So, So thank you so much for sharing all this wonderful work and for your leadership and making all this come together. And also for your vision for thinking way ahead to what others might do, what else they might do to bring this forward in their own neighborhood, in their own region. Right. We live in an extraordinary place, but the whole world has places that really need that little extra attention and benefit us when we right. pause for a few minutes right. And really see things. And especially when we look through the eyes of our poets and our artists and our photographers who say, you know, here's a little slice for you. Here's a little moment right. for you right. to really think about and connect in your own way. So Paola, congratulations on this extraordinary project. Thank I know you. It has a life of its own now in a lot of ways. Yeah. So you have the book, and oh yeah, and so can you tell me, this is a display copy? Sorry, right, you can't display have copy. This, right. But where can people find it?
They can get it at River House Books. And they can also get it from me directly by going to the website passionforplace.net.
So that's easy, passionforplace.net to get the Passion for Place right. book or CD or whatever, right?
Right.
And there's other links and things people can look at.
Yeah, and there's a long, big blog postings for many years that I've been doing it.
Wonderful. And what would you have people think about as they look through this and they feel inspired to get more engaged in conservation, protection, or anything else like this? Where would you have them go?
Well, I would, you know, in terms of specific organizations, there's the Carmel River Watershed Conservancy.
Awesome. So that's easy too. Carmel River
Watershed Conservancy, and they actually are educating youth from around Monterey County, bringing them to the Carmel River Watershed, and then they also have a docent program that which I'm a part of, which takes people out to see the former site of the San Clemente Dam, where it's no longer there.
No longer.
So,
can you tell us about this before we have to go?
Yeah. So this fish is made from rebar from the San Clemente Dam.
Oh, there we go.
So it was made from this kind of piece of metal right here. And it was forged with metal artist Richard Schrader. So we worked on this together, and this is in anticipation of a much larger project that we are going to be working on, creating a very tall sculpture made out of this rebar that's all focused on the freeing of the river and the importance of free-flowing water.
Well, congratulations again,
rivers.
Paola. This is exquisite, and thanks for sharing so much with us, and your leadership on all of this great work. And to find out more, go to artsformc.org, and we look forward to talking to Paola once again later as her new project gets underway, and we'll be back. Thank you.